So I just muted everybody. I'm going to say a few quick words of introduction. First of all, I want to thank my wife, Hannah, who allowed me to be here tonight because she's busy with the kids. So Hannah, this is to you. Thank you. That's number one. Second of all, I want to say hello to everybody. It feels so amazing to see so many beautiful people together in one place. It really feels like Shabbos, being together in shul, when we're gathering together to daven together as one family, one mishpacha. I said moments ago, I haven't seen so many people in one place for 2 months already. So it really feels very special to see everybody here. And what's really special is that we're coming in from every part of the world. I mean, I know that we've got people here from New York. We got Chava and the Ostermans. Joan Black, I'm pretty sure you're in New York as well. It's hard to keep track of everybody here, but I think that that's pretty much the out of state that I know about right now. But we also have, of course, in Melbourne, Australia, where it's already Tuesday. It's Tuesday morning, actually, right now. We have our guest speaker here tonight, which is Laibl. We'll be introducing him in just a moment. One thing I do want to tell you is that if you are having any technical difficulties whatsoever, please call the shul number now. That's 561-624-2223. And our very own Ashley, will be able to answer the phone and walk you through any technical challenges or difficulties in broadcasting or hearing or looking or seeing or whatever. So that number again is 561-624-2223 or simply 561-6-Chabad, where you can simply call Ashley and she'll tell you exactly what you need to do to join the conversation, to be part of this Zoom thing. If you are already here, the good news is that you've gone 98% of the way. So you're probably doing very well. You're ahead of the curve, L'chaim Bob. And with that, I want to make a quick introduction here before we begin. I want to say hello to everybody. I'm going to start off with Stacy and Andrew Thor, and to the Jerome and Phyllis Brown, to Michael and Judith Wolof, to our president, Mickey and Cookie Gottlieb, Susan and Ed Benson, to Corey, Nadal, to Ashley, to Denise and Ken Gottlieb up in Toronto, Helen and Warren Alec in Virginia, Dr. Briskin in Mirasol, and Mark and Alyssa Macher in Singer Island. They're still in Singer Island. I think tomorrow you guys are going to Pennsylvania, right? Andy and Hannah Siegelstein in Jupiter, Michael and Varachana in Woodland Lakes, Palm Beach Gardens, Stephanie and Jay in Ibis, the Ostermans up in New York, and the Dubanskis in Juno Beach, Tiki and Nani in Boynton, and Arlene in New York, right? I think Arlene is in New York, Arlene Ludwig. No, you're not, you're in Singer Island? You're in Singer Island? Fantastic. Okay, Juana Chava Toporowski is in New York, in Westchester. Sandy, I'm not sure who that is, but I think it's Sandy Friedman. The Wertheimers in PJ National, Dory Peltz in Jupiter, Joan Black, and Diane Weinberg. Also moving on to, who else? I can't tell who else I missed. Jay and Marlene Rosen, and to Adrian in Ibis. Hope I didn't miss anybody. To Malka, I think you're in New Jersey. And Miriam Lindner in Palm Beach Gardens. Gail Wisner in West Palm Beach. Arlene Feldman in Palm Beach Gardens. To the iPad, I don't know who that is. And Robin and Jonathan Eisman from PJ National. We have, I think it's, well, there's Elaine Miller, but it's hard for me to recognize. There was a face there. I think it was Debbie Ernst. I can't tell from the picture. Graciela and Doron. Chassi Dechter, is that Chassi Dechter from New York? I don't know. Michael and Luciana, and to Ezra Levine, and Vicky's iPhone. I don't know who that is either. But anyways, we are 41 families here, all coming together for this very, very special event celebrating BaOmer, which is the 33rd day of the Omer. It's a very special yontiv which connects specifically with, oh no, it's actually, it's not Debbie Ernst. Okay, whatever. Anyways, bottom line is the BaOmer Yontiv celebrates the end of a plague. 2,000 years ago, when the students of Rabbi Akiva were dying, 700 students of Rabbi Akiva were dying every single day for the past 32 days. That's 24,000 people that passed away, 700 funerals a day. That's why we have a period of semi-mourning between Pesach and now. On this day of BaOmer, that's when they stop dying. So hopefully this Farbrengen is going to mark the end of the plague, and God willing, we'll have a miracle like they had on that original BaOmer, and everybody will be able to emerge here unscathed. Hopefully we'll wake up from this nightmare and no more corona, no more COVID. we'll be able to have David instead of COVID. So we'll be able to get together here. Okay, so the message of BaOmer, that what we're celebrating here, and the reason that we set up this particular event, is because BaOmer celebrates the Yartzeit as well. In addition to the end of the plague of the students of Rabbi Akiva, it also celebrates the birth of the Kabbalah, the birth of Jewish mysticism, which until this point was a closely guarded secret. The most famous student of Rabbi Akiva, his name is Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, who is buried in the north of Israel near Tzfat, in the town of Miron on the mountain. He was the one that wrote down the book of the Zohar, the book of the Kabbalah. And it is tonight and tomorrow that we celebrate Jewish mysticism. That's why the gift of Jewish mysticism to the world, where God allowed us not to grope in the darkness, in the spiritual darkness, but really to be able to find our way, our purpose in this world. And that's, by the way, the reason why we celebrate BaOmer with bonfires. In Israel this year, they banned public bonfires for social distancing reasons. But the reason that we light bonfires is because bonfires are connected to the Kabbalah. Initially, people are afraid of fire, like they're afraid of Kabbalah. But when you learn to inch ever closer, very, very carefully, like people are afraid of Chabad rabbis initially. But when they come a little closer, cautiously, that's when they discover that there's warmth and there's light and there's tremendous value. That's the power of Kabbalah. It's something which is very fearful, but if you approach with caution, it can illuminate your life and make it meaningful in the most extraordinary ways. So with that, we decided here in Palm Beach Gardens Chabad to make BaOmer even more meaningful than usual. If we couldn't light a bonfire in a physical sense, we figured that we'd be able to light a spiritual bonfire by bringing in a master Kabbalist, zooming in from tomorrow, Back to the Future, right? He's coming from Tuesday morning in Melbourne, Australia, to Monday night in Palm Beach, Florida, where Laibl Wolf is a very beloved speaker in our community. He's had at least 3 or 4 visits to our community over the past 14, 15 years. And we are so deeply honored to welcome our guest here tonight, Laibl Wolf. After Laibl, we will also be having a musical presentation, a brief 10 or 15 minute musical presentation to finish off the hour. It's a 1-hour program here tonight, 8 to 9 o'clock. And that the purpose of the music is to be able to draw down the meditation that we'll be working through with Rabbi Laibl Wolf. We'll be working through that in internalizing it and making it part of our consciousness through the music. So bear with me here as I welcome a very special friend of mine, a special friend of the Jewish people, whose reputation goes near and far in his lecturing around the world. I think this is a new era for him to be able to lecture from the comfort of his own home. But Laibl Wolf is a world-renowned Australian Kabbalist who has been described as the Jewish synthesis of Deepak Chopra, Steve Covey, and Anthony Robbins. This is a game-changing Zoom experience with his world-acclaimed lecturer and best-selling author as he retrains us away from stress, apprehension, and low self-esteem and anxiety to become the gifted individual you are and always were. Tonight's topic is Unleashing the True Me, a meditation to train positive attitudes during times of crisis. And with this, I pass it over to Rabbi Dr. Laibl Wolf as soon as I unmute him. Here he is, and Laibl, it's all yours.
Thank you very much, Rabbi, for that overly generous introduction. Lovely to see you, and my best to your wife, and Ashley, lovely to see you as well, and everybody else. It's quite amazing. Yes, I'm here in your future, Tuesday morning, and I'm also down under, and yet we are transcending time and space to be together. How mystical is that? We are living at the moment under adverse circumstances, but it's a very fortuitous moment that we're living through this very day. As Rabbi very adequately described, it's a day where there is some very wonderful mazel and good fortune, even the stopping of a plague. Can you think of anything more powerful than that? And may that be our blessing today for all of us. But it's under adversity that we start discovering what our strengths and weaknesses are. And we start meeting the real I. Under the adversity and challenge, something happens within that takes hold of us, and a purer aspect of self comes to the fore, but not always, because there are two sides to self. There's a positive and there's a negative. Let me begin with this session, and I'll do the meditation a little bit later on the basis of my introductory remarks. Who am I? Who are you? So you and I are a spiritual umbilical cord that connects the very source of creation to our bodies. In other words, you and I are manifested here. We're like a projection on a screen. Here you are, you're seeing me as a projection on a screen. But where is the essential I? It is trillions of light years or even spiritual light years beyond, connected to the Ein Sof. And the juices of life, the energy flows through that spiritual umbilical cord and becomes me. Now, me is made up of two components. There's that energy, and there's the machinery. We call the machinery the physiology of the body. The physiology of the body is like the container that allows the energy to flow through. We call that energy neshama, loosely translated as soul. So you and I are the connection of the energy flowing through our manufacturing plants, through our physiology, through our body. However, God has a sense of humor, and God provided us with a capacity to fail. What does that mean, to fail? That means not to allow that energy to flow in the correct pattern. He created a fork in the road, and we have to choose between right and left, so to speak. It's as if there's an illusory I that also operates within me, that challenges me. We call that the nefesh bahamis. That's the self-centeredness. That's the ego. That's me being concerned about my food, clothing, shelter, and even being concerned about my self-actualization, the levels that Maslow proposed. And when I am me-oriented, there's a tendency towards insecurity, to fear. In other words, what will happen tomorrow? I'll run out of my food. I'll lose my capacity to purchase more clothing. The roof will be a problem and I don't know how to fix it. In other words, I don't know what the economy will be tomorrow. I don't know what my health will be tomorrow. And when I move into that direction, the me orientation, the egocentric self, that is based on fear and insecurity. Hashem implanted within us that fork in the road. But then there's another fork in the road, and not another fork, another direction from that fork that I can choose. And that's the I that is really realistically connected to that spiritual umbilical cord, not the illusory insecurity, but the right-hand side, so to speak, of emunah and bitachon, faith and a sense of trust, terms that I'll explain as we go along. And here is where God has his sense of humor, her sense of humor, its sense of humor. And it is, you and I have free choice. In any one moment, I can choose positivity or negativity, optimism or pessimism. I can opt to choose tomorrow to be the cup half full or half empty. So that's the first point I wanted to make. Here we are in the era of coronavirus, COVID-19, and we're worried. We're worried because you and I are playing the role of prophet. I don't mean P-R-O-F-I-T, I mean P-R-O-P-H-E-T. In other words, I am projecting the future. Who amongst us, and there are some 55 people here in the room together with me, who amongst us has a positive attitude to tomorrow, and who amongst us has a sense of insecurity and fear? And that's a rhetorical question. I don't need you to answer. I want you to answer to yourself. And you know full well that you don't have eyes to the future. You don't know. So you have to ask yourself, why am I choosing that option? First part of the discussion. The other part of the discussion is, how do I allow that spiritual umbilical cord, that energy, to flow through my body ideally? Well, like if you have a car, you have to have the car serviced, you have to have the car well oiled, you have to make sure that the tires are well pumped at the proper pressure, etc. The body has to be optimally geared to allow that inner energy within to flow ideally out. Otherwise, if the body's in poor shape, there's a limitation to the extent that I can actually express myself optimally in life. Now, I'm not going to proceed in this discussion with problems of normative physical disabilities. Here I'm talking about how we use our mind. And it's a very interesting discussion because we're living in a period where we are understanding the mechanics of our mind, and this gets us closer to the notion of meditation in a moment, where we understand the mechanics of the mind much better. If I can simplify a particular point I want to make, the more you think a particular thought, the more likely you're to think that particular thought over and over again. You know how sometimes you'll hear a tune and suddenly you find yourself throughout the day mimicking that tune in your mind. You can't get that tune out of your head. You've created somewhere between the nerve end fibers a pathway of neurotransmitters that continuously is in a loop. And the more that it's in a loop, the more it'll be in a loop. If a person is somehow habituated to negative thinking, to worry, to anxiety, that means they're in a loop. We can undo that loop. That's the promise of my presentation today. That you and I can create a mechanism to undo that particular trajectory in the mind and lay down a new path of optimism and positivity, something which BaOmer, the date that we are now celebrating, really manifests. How do you do that? Well, how do you learn to play piano? Well, there's the boring way. Repeat the scales over and over again daily, a few times daily. Or perhaps we take a more modern approach, so to speak. We're not going to get the fingers to touch the keyboard at all. What we're going to do is we're going to study the theory of music for a year. We'll understand what it is that technologically, musically, the whole idea of music is. We'll study the composers. We'll study what was their life biographies. We'll study what the nature of the different tonal qualities are. And at the end of the year, that's when we'll sit down behind the keyboard and start. Problem? When you start a year later, the fingers don't do it. You know the theory of music, you've studied it for a year, so why, if I know music, don't my fingers know music? And the short answer is, because you haven't laid down in your brain a loop, a connection between your brain and your fingers. And therefore, a year later, you go back to that seemingly boring approach. Scales over and over and over again. And guess what? That works. Because in the very activity of doing it, you are creating the pathway in your brain. That's why Judaism emphasizes action, doing. Some people say, you know, Rabbi, I'm not going to do the mitzvah until I understand it. Well, I get that. However, it's not going to work. It's a bit like learning to swim by going to a PowerPoint presentation. And at the end of 2 PowerPoints, the presenter gives you a certificate. And then you jump into the water and God forbid you find yourself drowning because you've never been in the water. You haven't done it. Likewise in Judaism, you can't appreciate what a mitzvah is until you actually practice it and do it. You can't play piano until the fingers touching the keyboard actually creates the pathway within the brain. Coming back to my point, negative thinking, negative projection, anxiousness, worry is the product of a loop that some people have established even for a lifetime without realizing it. And here's where the words mindfulness and consciousness come into the picture. To undo the loop, you have to be aware that you're in the loop. And only then you can play a new set of scales of the brain, of the mind, to change that. Meditation is one such methodology. And not only is meditation what its contemporaries, if you look up Professor Google and check out what meditation is, you're going to find hundreds and hundreds of different definitions, examples, and renditions of it. And if someone says to you, I know how best to meditate, follow me, stay clear of them. The word meditation simply means to focus. Why you focus on something, how you focus, that depends on the purpose behind it. The spiritual pathway, perhaps, from which it flows, from the medical theory from which it flows, from the psychological teachings from which it flows, why you focus in a certain way. But focus means the capacity to take your creative self, chokhmah, your developmental self, bina, and focus it. I've just summarized in the last 10 seconds the word consciousness. Consciousness consists of these three elements. One, plucking a potential thought out of our subconsciousness and allowing it to surface. And I'm beginning to see it as a spark of consciousness. It doesn't have shape yet. I don't know where it's going to go. It just suddenly, the beginnings of a thought popped into my head. That's the chokhmah stage, the creative stage, the way you go fishing in the pond of your subconsciousness. And you begin to feel the tug of a fish at the end of the line, the spark of beginnings of a thought. Then you've got a second capacity. You take that and you reel the fish in. You develop the thought. That's called analysis. And you have clarity of what it is that that potential thought was. And then with that thought, you focus. And you focus mindfully to such an extent that your body can begin to move. You extend your hand and you shake someone's hand. Please God, we can shake hands hopefully in the near future. These three stages. The third one, da'at, is the focusing stage. Meditation is that. I'm using my mind to focus on a particular aspect. Why, how? That depends on what I want to achieve. What do we want to achieve in our little meditation session today? What we want to achieve is to be able to lay down a new groove of the mind, to transform from anxiety and worry and concern to positivity, hopefulness, and faith. And that's what the beginning point of this session is all about. Let me pause at this moment to see if there are, at this moment, any questions on the theory that I've presented so far. Otherwise, I'm going to move into the second phase.
It almost sounds more South African.
Okay.
If anybody wants to say anything, if you could just unmute yourself. So, because if we unmute everybody, then there's some sort of an echo. So if anybody does want to say anything, please unmute yourself.
Okay, so under those circumstances, let's proceed with the methodology that's involved. Now, I want to explain the two terms that I raised initially, and I want to be able to make them clear for you, because this is what we want to achieve through our meditational approach. Emunah and bitachon. Emunah, which is commonly translated as faith in the English language, and bitachon, which is usually translated as trust, security. But they're just translations, and translations are cultural approximations of the original term. The Lubavitcher Rebbe explained these two terms as follows. Emunah is the belief that everything that has ever happened to you in your life is for your current good. Whatever has happened in the past is for your current good. And it may have been even hurtful and painful, God forbid. And somehow or other, it's for your present tense good. Step one. Step two, bitachon. Bitachon means that the challenge that you face right now will have a positive outcome. The challenge we face right now with coronavirus will have a positive outcome. So note, Emunah means from the past to the present, and bitachon means from the present to the future. Emunah, everything that has ever happened to me is for my current good, past to present. Bitachon, the challenge I face today will have a positive outcome, present to future. These are two axiomatic propositions. They have no proof whatsoever. These are beliefs. Belief begins where reason stops. If it were reasonable, if it were rational, you wouldn't need to call on your belief system. But belief is an aptitude of every human being, which is as real as rationality. Belief means calling on what is commonly sometimes referred to as a sixth sense. Something, a quality within us, which doesn't come through the mind and doesn't come through the heart. It's not a mental, intellectual channel, and it's not an emotional channel. It's a faith channel. And we all possess it. Why is it that my grandparents, who were murdered in the Holocaust, and when they came to the camps, why was it that even many Jews who didn't practice Judaism in the slightest, their last words, even if they haven't done one mitzvah in their life, their last words would have been Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad. It's calling from something deep within, something which is embedded. We are told it's embedded from Abraham, Yitzhak, and Yaakov, a spiritual legacy. And therefore, you and I have that. But I'm going to give you a reasonable reason why you should adopt that belief. You know why? Because as I said earlier, you're not a prophet. There's a 50-50% probability that tomorrow will be much worse than today. And there's a 50-50% probability that tomorrow will be much better than today. You don't know. You're not a prophet. You're not a prophetess. And therefore, under those circumstances, at this very moment, it's equally weighted. Some people will automatically jump to the cup is half empty, and others will move to the posture that the cup is half full. Ask yourself, who am I? In this moment when I have the faith deeply embedded, can I draw it out of me? And the reasons why I'm going to say to you that it's very rational and useful to choose that the cup is half full is as follows. We know through clear statistics that people who tend towards optimism are healthier, and that people who tend towards pessimism, their body tends to break down. More illness correlation. That's a fact. Secondly, we know full well that people who opt for optimism have better qualitative and many more relationships of fulfillment. People like to gather around optimistic people. People don't like to gather around pessimists, although some pessimists tend to cleave to other pessimists, and there's a very perverse notion, a perverse relationship. But by and large, fulfilling relationships come from positivity. So I'm giving you two reasons why you should opt for faith that tomorrow is going to be a much better day than today, and have the sense of bitachon concerning that. All right, let me now move into a little exercise. I'm going to do two meditative exercises with you rolled into one. And the purpose of the exercise, the purpose of this meditation is to be able to implant within you the beginnings of laying down a pathway connecting, as I said, nerve end fibers, a flow of neurotransmitters, if you like, forging a new path of positive thinking, and especially positive thinking about a sense of personal security. The first exercise is going to be based on creating an empty space, weaning ourselves off the previous thought sequences that we may have had, cutting yourself off from the previous mental state and adopting through conscious intent, kavanah, a new mental state. But you need to have a break, you need to have a vacuum. We use a breath-based focusing technique, which is used across the board in many spheres of endeavor, especially in health promotion. We're going to focus on our breath. Now, the Hebrew word for breath is neshima. And you know full well that the Hebrew word for soul is neshama, clearly related. We know that the breath is the first level of expression of the soul. The way you breathe reveals the way that the soul is flowing through your body. In fact, it's very interesting. If I can just segue for a few seconds. If you read in Shemos, in the second book of the Bible, when Moshe Rabbeinu, when Moses comes finally down to Egypt and is ready to announce to the people, you can be leaving in a very short space of time. How do the people react initially? And Rashi says there, explaining why they just simply do not at all take in what this old man wandering into the desert is saying. The reason that they don't is because mikotzer ruach, shortness of breath. Short breathing is shallow breathing. It's anxious breathing. It's stressful breathing. If you run the 100-yard dash, you're heaving with your chest quickly because you want to oxygenate the body. If you're under stress, similarly. Therefore, that breath reveals the flow of the neshama in the body towards a nefesh bahamis, the lower order self, the ego self. And therefore, we have to be able to tame that. So we create deep breathing through the abdomen. And in so doing, we change the physiology of the body and also create a space for a change of mind. First part of the exercise. Second part of the exercise is I'm going to give you a creative imagery that's going to provide you a sense of security, a sense of protection. You know, we have mezuzahs on the door. That's not just a nice cultural expression. A mezuzah creates safety. It presents a force field that you take around with you wherever you go in life. But I'm going to give you another way of expressing that. All right, enough talk. If you're sitting in a chair, just create a posture of symmetry. Feet situated on the floor, symmetrically, side by side. Hands resting on knees and thighs. Back fairly straight without being too rigid. Your head well balanced on your shoulders. Allow the shoulders to slump just a little and gently close your eyes. And just focus on your breath. Gently, but quite normally, breathing in and out. And if you can, prefer to breathe in and out through your nose. Breathing in and breathing out through your nose. And as you do, become aware of the difference in temperature between the air that you inhale into the nasal passages compared to the temperature of the air that you exhale from the nose. Cooler air entering, slightly warmer air exiting. And sense that temperature difference in your nasal passages be more and more aware of the temperature difference of the inhalation compared to the exhalation. The slower and deeper that you breathe, the more pronounced will be that differential. Be aware that at this moment, it seems to be that your chest is the primary motion of your torso as you breathe in and out. I want to change that. With your next breaths in, I want you to breathe slowly and deeply down to your abdomen. How do you achieve that? As you breathe in, expand your abdomen to collect the air, and then contract your abdomen in to expel the air. So it seems like you're breathing down to the abdomen. As you take a slow, deep breath in, expand the tummy, expand the abdomen, collecting it, and then pull it in to exhale. This is a little counterintuitive, so you need to practice it. Slowly and deeply, breath in, expand the abdomen, contract the abdomen, breathing out. Try to continue through your nose and practice it for several breaths, expanding your abdomen as you breathe in. And now let's lend some rhythm to the breathing. We'll breathe in for a count of 3, hold for a count of 3, and breathe out for a count of 4 through the abdomen. So take a slow, deep breath in, 2, 3, hold, 2, 3, out, 2, 3, 4. In, 2, 3, hold, 2, 3, out, 2, 3, 4. And just continue breathing slowly, deeply, rhythmically, gracefully, a perfect circle. And just be aware at the back of your mind that you have created a relaxed state of relative emptiness. Whatever you were thinking about before has gone out the window, and you've allowed a vacuum to set in. Second part of the exercise, just continuing to breathe. I want you to become aware of a source of light, a glow of light in the middle of your head. Whichever way you wish to picture it. A light source in the middle of your head, pleasant, even warm, glowing in your head. Intensify that glow so it begins to extend through your neck, through to your chest and abdomen area. Feel the glow extending so that your upper torso is also glowing within, feeling warm, relaxed. Allow the glow to even intensify more in your head, pleasantly though, and allow it to extend to your arms and hands and to your thighs and legs through to your feet. And begin to feel that glow and warmth throughout your whole body. That is the glow of your higher order self, your altruistic self, the part that's connected directly to godliness, glowing through you. Intensify it even more and allow the skin to glow as a consequence of the glow within your body. And the skin emits an aura around you, a glow around you. Be aware of the glow of the aura surrounding you now, close to your body. As that aura surrounds your body, it is a shield, a spiritual force shield. It's a force field. We call that the Magen Avraham, the shield of Abraham. And the Magen Avraham surrounds you, protecting you. It has its source in the mezuzah. But be aware of this force field around you, the glow that's within your head, extending and enlightening your body to the surface of the skin and beyond. And it extends beyond your surround, enveloping all those in the room with you, your home, so that the glow extends, enveloping, creating your home atmosphere of protection, of security, of health, withstanding challenge. Allow that glow to extend beyond your home into the world, contributing to the security of all people, of all nations, of peace and tranquility. And just spend a few moments recognizing how powerful your influence is on everyone around you. So whenever there is any doubt, just settle in and become mindful and conscious of the Magen Avraham, the shield of Abraham, the security blanket all around you, which is there, whether you know it or don't. Come back to your breath through your nose. Become aware again of the air entering the nasal passages, cooler air, and exiting, warmer air. Become conscious again of that temperature difference. Begin moving your fingers and your toes, wherever you may be. Move your fingers now, move your toes. And when you feel ready, gently open your eyes, coming all the way back here into our session as we conclude with some final words. Now, this is an exercise that you can do most any time. We've done it in some detail. After you practice it, practice, I suggest you do it 3 times a day. Firstly, it breaks the stress cycle. Stress attacks the body by being cumulative. Stress upon stress upon stress in a continuous fashion. As soon as you break the cycle, it has to start again. Far less damage to the body. Secondly, it changes, and this was the ultimate purpose, it changes your mindset. It changes the way you view the next moment, the future, and that's very important. I want you to walk away from this session with a leadership posture. When I say a leadership posture, many years ago, when I was doing a master's course in leadership, I read a book that had a profound influence on me. And that book was called Servant Leadership. And the book was promoting the notion, and I see some of you nodding and recognizing it, that a true leader is not the one who uses positional power to exercise control over the next person because he or she knows best. A true leader is the individual who facilitates the growth of the people around them. And that's what I want you to do. I want you to be quiet servant leaders. I want you to go out with an awareness of that glow around you and recognize that when you act on it, when you speak on it, when you think on it, what you are doing is practicing a leadership posture that affects the next person in a very profound way. Choose positivity. Choose the 50 percentile of optimism. And in so doing, people become healthier. Their immune system becomes stronger. They're able to resist the virus more effectively. You attract people around you, and you channel Hashem's essential flow of goodness into the world. You are that channel. Go out there and practice that leadership posture by practicing at home and be the leader that Hashem wants you to be. Well, I've already, I think, gone past my time limit. So let me pause there. And if there's anything further, I'm happy to join you.
Yasher Koach, great job. So wonderful. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Good to see you.
Thank you, Rabbi Laibl. That was a very, very special, beautiful presentation that took us not outside, but took us inside, allowing us to make peace with our true self, with our deeper essence and our inner identity, something which we seem to forget all too often with the noise, the cacophony, the rat race that surrounds us. Within this quarantine, the silence is actually deafening as we face our own essence, having no one else to distract our attention. As Mike Horowitz is telling me now, it is our authentic selves that we're facing. And that is in truth what our mission is in this world, is to find who we are on the inside. You know, one of the symbols of BaOmer, in addition to the bonfire, is the bow and arrow. We play with bow and arrow. Why is it that we play with a bow and arrow? Because the bow and arrow is counterintuitive. If you're trying to fire a projectile away from you, then why would you pull it near you? But in truth, the closer you pull the arrow to your heart, the more it is able to reach the heart of your target. The more comfortable you are with your own essence, the more profound of an impact you will have upon anyone else around you. And that's what Chabad is all about. That is idea, chachma, bina, understanding, and da'as being realization, making it real. And we're now taking it from our minds down to our hearts. It gives me great pleasure to welcome a very special guest. I hope he's there with us. Is a dear friend of mine from the yeshiva days, is Yehuda Piamenta. I hope that you're here, Yehuda. Are you on? Hold on. Let me make sure that he's there. Yehuda Piamenta is a very gifted, very talented musician whose father is one of the most famous musicians in Israel. His father and uncle, the Piamenta brothers. Actually, one of Hannah's brothers married into the family. Yehuda, there he is. Yehuda Piamenta, I want to say thank you to Rabbi Laibl. Of course, you're more than welcome to stay with us for a few more minutes.
A pleasure.
Yehuda is going to take it away from here. Yehuda, moving from Tuesday morning to Monday night in New York City.
Great to be here. Great to be part. I see so many people around. I guess let's start with Hine Matov. If you know this song, sing along.
טוב, יפה מאוד.
Thank you.
I love the flute.
Oh, beautiful.
So we have another beautiful song, which is one of the very famous songs of BaOmer, which is sung by hundreds of thousands of Jews on BaOmer. It's celebrating the great Tana, the great Torah scholar, Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, whose Yortzeit we celebrate tonight. Was Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, who really made the Yortzeit into a very special occasion, because he was the one that said that don't make the day of my passing a sad day, make it a joyous day. He called it a Hilula, which means a wedding. Why would a Yortzeit be called a wedding? Many Sephardic Jews will not refer to a Yortzeit as a sad day, but as a wedding day, as a Hilula, because it's a day where the soul is reunited with its source. And that song is illustrated by the next song that Yehuda has prepared for us, Yehuda Piamenta. And I'm going to ask Yehuda to take it away, Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai.
Okay.
Yes, Shikach, Yehuda, L'chaim.
L'chaim.
You know,
Goyach.
You know, Yehuda, music is the nigun is the pen of the soul, and for us to be able to experience a night like tonight, to be able to have Rabbi Dr. Laibl Wolf to inspire our souls, and then to have Yehuda with his silver flute, his signature silver flute, like his father, to be able to draw that down into our hearts, from our minds into our hearts, that flows into our hands and into our feet, into our thought, into our speech, and into our action. I'm so grateful to Yehuda for joining me here, an old friend from back in the yeshiva days from Kfar Chabad in Israel. I'm so grateful for you, Yehuda, for joining us here tonight. I'm taking from your special time with your family to be able to celebrate with us. I know that most nights you would be like BaOmer, you'd be celebrating at weddings tonight because you're a very famous entertainer in New York. But I guess tonight the weddings aren't really happening too much in New York, right? I guess so. Yeah. But Yehuda, really, thank you very, very much. I know that you said you were going to do 2 songs and we're done, right? Is that it? So yeah. I want to thank you so very, very much. We do have one final surprise, Yehuda. Toda Rabba, really, thank you so very much for joining us here. We do have one final surprise for you tonight, and that is a young Jew who was with us in Palm Beach Gardens. His family moved to Palm Beach Gardens for medical reasons about 2 years ago. And they were successful in whatever they needed to do. But after a few months, they moved back to Israel. He is a very talented flutist, and he performed for us here in Palm Beach Gardens, and he performed for our community when we went to Israel exactly 1 year ago. So if you were with us in Israel exactly a year ago, you will remember Uri Averbach from our farewell party at the Papagayo restaurant in Jerusalem. The kosher Mexican restaurant in Jerusalem. So we really wanted to bring a piece of Israel to our Lag BaOmer celebration. We weren't sure about the logistics, but Uri was able to pull it together. I'm going to ask Ashley to pull him in. Go ahead, Ashley. Ashley, you there?
Yeah, I'm here. It's coming. Hold on just a moment.
Trying to bring somebody in from Israel isn't all that easy. You know, we could do Australia, but Israel is a little more complicated. There you go, Ashley. Thank you.
From PGA National Chabad. I'm Uri Averbach. I was in your community 2 years ago, and I met you 1 year ago when you were in Jerusalem. So we're gonna play for you. Reb David asked me to play for you in this holy Lag BaOmer evening. So we're gonna play a little bit Jewish music for you. So enjoy and Chag Sameach.
Hold on 1 second. We're just going to do that final video now, that final presentation.
זה בחינם לגמרי. אז בר יוחאי. את הנגנים הנפלאים ש...
Okay, thank you very, very much to our friends out in Israel, to Uri Averbach. We just wanted to bring a little taste of Israel. You know, here as we are so socially distanced, so far apart from each other, we're separate and physical, but our souls
we were
are
there.
on fire. Our souls are inspired. And friends, tonight, as we celebrate this beautiful Yontiv, this Lag festival, the Lag of the Omer, I want to thank you for joining us here tonight for this brief presentation. We do hope to make this a weekly event through the socially distant era, to be able to bring in special guests at least once a week, to pull us together as we used to do on Shabbos, as we came together as one family and one community, one nation, to be able to pull us together once a week in the middle of the week for these presentations. So do look out for them. It is our hope and our prayer that tonight you can be inspired to be able to look further within yourself, to be able to unleash that beautiful power of your soul, to let go the questions, to let go the anxieties, to let go the problems, and to let that beautiful light, the light of Hashem, shine within you, to be able to cause all your problems to melt away, and to allow the light which you are destined to shine to illuminate all around us. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
That was wonderful.
It's a good idea. It's a good idea.
It's extremely uplifting. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. It was so good.
Thank you, Marilyn. Before you go, folks, I want to make the blessing of Lag BaOmer together with you. Let's make the blessing together. Are you ready?
Yep.
Before I let you go, I just want to make sure we can count the Omer together right now. Are you ready? We count the Omer together because that is the mitzvah. It just takes a moment. And obviously my phone just crashed. 1 second. Wait, don't go away, friends. I'm just going to count the Omer together with you. When you're doing something important, that's when it crashes. Hold on. Okay, here it is. So do you just say after me?
Baruch.
Unbelievable. Hold on. Okay, here it is. Say after me. Baruch. Atah. Adonai. Eloheinu. Melech Olam. Asher. Kiddushanu. Mitzvotav. Tzivanu. Al Yiras Omer Hayom Ushloshim Yom Shehem Arba'a Shavuos V'chamisha Yomim LaOmer. Today is 33 days, which is 4 weeks and 5 days to the Omer. May the merciful one return the service of the Holy Temple to a place. Speedily in our days. Amen. Selah. May be fulfilled. Today's Sephira is Hod Shebahod, which is beauty within beauty, humility within humility. May we all allow the light to shine within us all. Thank you very much, everybody, for joining us. What a special session this was tonight. How inspiring, how beautiful. Thank you.